Good morning, Kitchissippi. It is Saturday, March the 22nd. This is a video version of the 429th Kitchissippi Weekly Ward Newsletter. There's lots more information about all of the topics that we'll discuss in the weekly email newsletter, to which you can subscribe at kitchissippiward.ca. Coming up on April the 3rd, I have pop-up office hours. Those are going to be held on Thursday, April the 3rd from noon until 3 at Split Tree Cocktail Company. That's at 98 Richmond Road, just tucked into the westernmost arch of the convent buildings there. Pop-ups are an opportunity to come by anytime during those hours without an appointment to chat with me one-on-one about whatever is on your mind. I hope I see you there. The second draft of the comprehensive zoning bylaw has now been released. It's going to be considered by a joint meeting of the Planning and Housing Committee and Agricultural and Rural Affairs Committee on March the 31st. The second draft of the comprehensive zoning bylaw is a result of months of consultation on the first. It will now go into consultation over the course of the spring and summer before we vote on a final draft by the end of the year. The comprehensive zoning bylaw is a brand new zoning bylaw for Ottawa. It implements the official plan that we passed a couple of years ago. It means a lot more intensification, some big changes like eliminating minimum parking requirements. It's a big deal. I have all of the information online, and I know we'll be talking about it more over the course of the next several months. On April the 8th, the city is hosting an open house to take a look at the big street rebuild, the integrated renewal work of Melbourne, Ravenhill, Kenwood, and Greenwood. That's going to be hosted from 6:30 until 8:30 p.m. at the Dovercourt Recreation Centre on April the 8th. Come on by, take a look at the preliminary plans for how the street will be rebuilt, and there's an overview of the project that's online. It's at ottawa.ca/Melbourne Renewal. The Committee of Adjustment is meeting on April the 2nd. There are just a couple of Kitchissippi items on there. At 317 West Hill, the owner is applying to subdivide the property to establish separate ownerships for each half of the semi-detached that is currently under construction there. And at 100 Hamilton Avenue North, the owner is seeking variances on lot width, lot area, and interior side yard setbacks to proceed with an 8-unit low-rise apartment building. A couple of events coming up to talk about. Enviro Center is hosting Communities for Everyone, a talk by author Anna Zevarts. She's going to talk about inclusive and universal design in transportation, explore what mobility looks like from a non-driving perspective, and why prioritizing walking, transit, and rolling makes cities safer, more accessible, and more efficient. That's going to be held on March the 27th in the evening. I have details in the newsletter about how you can get a ticket. Those are on sale for $15 each. And I also have information about the following day event being held by Enviro Center, a full-day symposium connecting the dots on transit. So for more information on either that Thursday night talk or the Friday symposium, visit the newsletter for more details. And Connaught, I'll say again, has its chocolate sale on. That goes until the end of the month, so a fundraiser for Connaught Public School. I love the instructions. Buy the chocolate, pick up the chocolate, and eat the chocolate, or give it to someone else to eat. So fairly simple instructions. Visit the link in the newsletter. City Hall is very busy. This is the time of year when we start to do a lot of really substantive work. City Council is going to meet on March the 26th with what I think will be a relatively straightforward agenda. We'll likely set in motion a by-election process to replace Councillor DeRuse, who has taken his seat at Queen's Park after winning his provincial election. We're going to debate acquiring a parcel of environmentally significant lands on Ferry Road that has wound a relatively tortured path through the city's and council's committee processes, but it is finally in front of City Council to approve. We're also going to consider a new cultural funding policy that streamlines existing programs, reduces red tape, and better serves Indigenous and equity-denied groups. The rest of the long agenda at City Council should be relatively uncontentious, including the final zoning approvals at 50 Bayswater and 1088 Somerset, as well as at 1950 Scott, that were recommended for approval by the Planning and Housing Committee last week. I have a link in the newsletter to the full agenda for our City Council meeting. The Public Works and Infrastructure Committee is going to meet on March the 27th. They've got a very beefy agenda. It used to be called our Transportation Committee. Councillor Brown is bringing forward a motion that would allocate $10 million from the speed and red light camera revenue to accelerate the rollout of warranted traffic signals, where we have a backlog of those. And in a similar vein, Councillor Plant is bringing a motion to direct staff to develop a plan for using that same funding source to catch up on a backlog of 51 identified warranted pedestrian crossovers. There's also a report on extending the e-kick scooter pilot through 2029. Queen's Park has extended its pilot, so this is a consequence of that. The scooter program is proposed to operate with an extended season, geography, and hours. The committee is also going to consider a report that essentially recommends removing the prohibitions on residents growing food in the city right-of-way boulevards. There is going to be a report on a new procurement of parking payment machines. They're recommending using the same pay-by-license plate system that other jurisdictions do, and they're contemplating procuring a second provider for a mobile app. And there is also a motion that's being brought by Councillor Kitts to delay construction of a multi-use path on the Airport Parkway. There is already one. This would be for the other side. Councillor Kitts is proposing that we delay that until the Airport Parkway widening project moves ahead, if that moves ahead. The sunk cost associated with building them up, just to have to rip it out if there is a big construction project, is significant, and Councillor Kitts is suggesting we wait. And then finally, there is a memo on the committee's agenda outlining the memorandum of understanding between the city and federal government with respect to the street during the redevelopment of the block that is between Metcalfe and O'Connor on Wellington downtown. There's an agreement to maintain two-way traffic through there, as well as an agreement on a federal contribution to the design work for a refreshed Spark Street. That's a lot for the Public Works and Infrastructure Committee. Take a look at the link in the newsletter for the full agenda and all of the documents associated with that. As I noted, talking about the new comprehensive zoning bylaw, there will be a joint meeting of the Planning and Housing Committee and Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee on March the 31st to consider the second draft of the new comprehensive zoning bylaw. The Finance and Corporate Services Committee is going to meet on April the 1st. We're going to undertake the relatively routine exercise of establishing the tax class ratios, which is, for example, commercial taxes are charged at X% of the residential rate. There's going to be a determination of how to dispose of and take care of the various deficits and surpluses within the city's budget from 2024. There's a report that I'm very excited about that will advance getting several parcels of land that are owned by the city and considered surplus into the hands of our not-for-profit housing partners. Those lands would include the lands at about 287 Loretta Avenue. That's a very small portion. I have to imagine that that would be essentially given to CCOC, who have a development immediately abutting, as well as 261A Hinchy. There's an economic strategy update that includes something I know many of you are interested in, which is an update on the activities of the Night Economy Commissioner. One nugget in that update about what the nightlife mayor has been up to is a portal that should be going online in the second quarter of 2025 that will be a place to describe all of the events, and I'm looking forward to seeing listings for the concerts, for our very dynamic music scene here in Ottawa. That ability to advertise what's going on at night has been a persistent gap in our nightlife for many years. I'm excited to see that something is moving forward that potentially could address that. So you can see the details of all of our Finance and Corporate Services Committee agenda items at the link on the newsletter, or of course on the city's council and committee agenda page. That is it for the newsletter, a relatively brief one, but lots of really substantive work being done by committee and council right now. I hope that you're enjoying a relatively snow-free week, and thank you very much for watching.